queer up the USA View. 2 decades later, celebrating the landmark case that paved the way for same-sex marriage rights. 2 decades ago this week, in 2004, Mary Bonauto, the chief attorney in the landmark case that secured marriage rights for same-sex couples in Massachusetts, celebrated alongside her clients, Robert Compton and David Wilson, as they exchanged vows. Compton and Wilson were among the pioneering couples to tie the knot on that historic day. Following a groundbreaking ruling in November 2003, which marked Massachusetts as the first state to legalize same-sex marriage, a 6-month waiting period ensued. Despite facing legal challenges in the form of 4 lawsuits in just 6 months aimed at blocking such unions, none were able to thwart couples like Compton and Wilson from legally marrying. Bonauto, an attorney at GLBTQ Legal Advocates and Defenders, also known as GLAD with 1A, since 1990, admitted to being overcome with emotion at her client's wedding. Tears welled up even before the ceremony began, but the most poignant moment, she recalls, was when the minister pronounced the couple officially married. She emphasized that the state had not provided constitutionally adequate justifications for denying same-sex couples the right to marry, and clarified that the court's role did not extend to addressing the moral questions surrounding same-sex marriage. Bonauto noted that despite encountering some resistance, the decision garnered an overwhelmingly positive response. Following Massachusetts' pioneering move in 2003, 36 states and Washington, D.C. subsequently legalized same-sex marriage. The culmination came in June 2015 when the Supreme Court declared remaining state bans on same-sex marriage unconstitutional. And that's especially important here in Florida because as of March 8th, we've tried 3 times that I know of to repeal our Florida version of the DOMA Act, the Defense of Marriage Act, that says that marriage is defined as one man and one woman, and we have failed. This last time, which was just at the end of 2023, the bill never even made it out of committee. So we still have a DOMA on our books here in Florida, believe it or not. And if you were around in 2004 and you were a grown up, I was, and you remember that period of time and how chaotic it was until there was some sort of federal decision, you might even have friends that got married in California and then came back here and found that they couldn't get divorced here.
Right. Right. I think it's especially important what you brought up about Florida, because I did not even know that. And what's going on in the country now, the political climate, and what, and with that Supreme Court, it's a very scary time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
especially with all the things that our present governor has put on the table, even though most of it didn't pass or has been struck down by the courts, you can see that there are people out there that hope that they may be able to enforce that Florida DOMA again someday.
You just never know. And particularly, given the structure of the Supreme Court, the fact that we have an overly conservative Supreme Court, who in the past, conservatives believed in, really not interference, more government. And this Supreme Court, along with our political leaders, don't believe in that. So we just never know what will happen. So it's we need in Florida, I think, particularly to focus on how do we get rid of this DOMA Act, because it's still on our books, and who knows what will happen with the Supreme Court. That will definitely, if the Supreme Court overturns it, then DOMA goes right into effect, right? And so that has so many implications for our community. I think we need to have this as a rallying call for our community as well. Too often, members of our community are a little bit apathetic, and so there should be a rally call for some members of our community, especially those who are married, right?
Yeah.
Like, stop going to those circuit parties and go vote, right?
Yeah, I'm one of them, and it's definitely unfinished business in our state. Equality Florida reports on it fairly often, and I know that they wish it would get a little further along.
We're engaged, my partner and I, and we want to have a wedding, but we also tell our family at some point if we need just to hurry up and get married, just so that we're married, that we're on the books to be married. So it's a shame that we still have to think like this in our age. We have all these other movie stars and everything else that are coming out, saying they're pansexual and everything else, and we celebrate that, but we're still fighting other battles.
Yeah, hopefully things like our Equality Act will protect us despite, if the Supreme Court does overrule this. We should have theoretically equal protection underneath the law, right? So hopefully that survives, but it hasn't in the past.
Right.
So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, but we did kind of Debbie Downer the general tone of that, which was this anniversary, the 20
Happy
years.
anniversary.
Anniversary, kind of like with the Debbie
Anniversary to
Downer.
Mr. Compton and Mr. Wilson.
Just wanted to bring it back to the story.
No,
Thanks.
good point, Dale. I mean, we are celebrating 20 years.
Pollyanna over here.
A lot to celebrate.
little
I mean, you know what? I remember it back then. I was an adult back then, believe it or not. And so, actually, I was working on a master's thesis at that point, and I was working on actually marriage equality, and it was for a political science program that I was in. And the mayor of New Paltz in New York was like the first mayor who actually started doing gay weddings,
Yes.
officiating gay weddings.
I remember.
And he was thrown into jail, and so I remember the climate back then. But so we do have a lot to be proud of, and we've come such a long way. 20 years. The fact that we do have this, and that we're able to get married. We're able to, have that protection underneath the law is pretty amazing as well. So thanks for.
Yeah, we were down that road, and I was like, "What is the story about?"
Yeah.
I'm complaining.
But I think to the point though is that we just have to be vigilant, right? Yes, we should always celebrate our wins, but we have to be vigilant given given where we're at in our society.
Can't rest on our laurels.
We can't rest on our laurels. Given our political climate, and given who is in charge, right? Like we just have to stay vigilant. So let's celebrate
Vote.
while remaining vigilant.